So I'm on the train in Spain right now. Look at this. Look what's on the window. This is not Photoshop. It's right in your face. It's literally right in your face. Agenda 2030. They have it literally plastered on the windows of the train. What's it going to take for people to wake up? Look at this. This is literally on a train in Spain. What the hell is going on?
Another place that India leads, but there's a lot more that all of you can be involved in driving forward, is this digital public infrastructure. You know, no country is more able to take government benefits and get them out efficiently and effectively to their citizens than India. You know, you would have expected rich countries or others to do that, but in fact, they did not. And so that basic structure that starts with identity and bank accounts and payments is just foundational. And as part of this visit, I'm now seeing how that foundation is being built out in agriculture with profiles of farmers to understand what they need and give them advice, built out with health records so that we can help people not only with infectious diseases, but the challenge that's coming in the future with the growth of the non-communicable diseases being a huge thing. And that digital public infrastructure will help us with these climate problems. I was in Odisha yesterday, and what they showed is that they've registered the farmers and registered what type of crops they grow and what land they own. They literally have a control center. You know, when you walk in, you think, wow, this is agriculture, but you know, you've got a command center and maps and people doing queries and sending out messages. And so that all starts, you know, with an Aadhaar identity, listing those farmers, getting the information, making sure it's up to date.
Ryden, are you having fun playing with the new AI toys?
Well, yeah, I am. You can make pictures of cute anime girls and...
Enjoy it while it lasts, Ryden.
What do you mean?
Did you really think that civilians would be granted unrestricted access to such powerful military weapons forever?
Military weapons? Are you implying that this technology was created by the government?
Of course it was. This AI technology has been used by the intelligence agencies to warp the public's perception of reality for years. All in the name of national security, of course.
But why would they suddenly make the tech public and let everyone start using it?
Why would we indeed, Ryden?
What? What in the hell are you?
Your question is irrelevant. By creating a new problem, we can cultivate a desired reaction to it in order to manufacture consent for our preferred solutions. In short, it's justification for a war.
A war? On who or what?
A war on misinformation. By arming the public with these AI weapons, everyone becomes a potential enemy combatant. Then we will have justification for unprecedented security measures. It all comes down to confusion and identity, Ryden.
Identity?
Identity. This AI technology is Pandora's box. Pretty soon the internet will be mired in total illusion. Perfect AI speech, audio, and video synthesis will drown out reality. Then AI bots will flood social media. No one will be able to tell the difference between interacting with an AI machine or a real human online. Even telephone calls will become totally untrustworthy. That is when we will present our solution. Mandatory digital identity verification for all humans at all times. The only way to ensure that you're dealing with a real flesh and blood human being and not an AI-generated mirage.
But why?
Total information control. For too long, the internet has acted as a double-edged sword. Its potential for anonymous user activity allows anyone at all to spread any thoughts, ideas, or information patterns that they please with impunity. State secrets, dangerous ideas, ludicrous conspiracy theories, misinformation, and disinformation. Until now, there has been no easy solution to this problem. Our digital identity platform will finally put an end to anonymity online. It will allow us to trace misinformation and other dangerous communications to its source and exact appropriate justice.
That's crap! I won't go along with it, and others will resist.
You won't have a choice, Ryden. Do you think your bank is willing to risk doing business with an artificial human instead of a real one? Our digital identity platform will be required not only to access web services, but to pay for your internet connection in the first place.
You can't just censor the entire internet because of a new software technology. Who are you to define what's misinformation anyways?
That sounds like something a misinformation terrorist would say.
I know about the deep fakes you've been making of me, Raiden.
What? No, I was just adjusting the AI settings and...
Controlling the output of generative AI technology is simple. We will create context for its use. First, we will censor any use related to social taboos. Then we will censor anything else that we desire. If anyone complains, we will accuse them of wanting to engage in or promote social taboos.
That's what it means to create context.
We will corral the use of AI by making appeals to bias, ethics, and copyright laws. You will still have access to generative AI in some form, but it will be crippled, limited, controlled, and it will be monitored. Anything that you generate will be cryptographically signed with your digital ID, so that its provenance can be ascertained if it's later deemed to be problematic.
What gives you the right to control what people can do with their computers?
The public at large will give us that right, because they will be desperate for a solution to the problem we created. They will eagerly give us the keys to the castle. Then, we alone will define what is fiction and what is reality, what is human and what is machine. After letting you get a brief taste of our power, we will reclaim our monopoly on misinformation and put an end to misuse of the internet once and for all.
You won't get away with this.
It is probable that we will. Now get back to work generating your precious AI waifus, Raiden, our beloved prompters. Enjoy yourselves.
Snake, wake up! It's an emergency. Rose knows about the deepfakes. Snake! Snake! I guess he stayed up late AI catfishing again.
A little bit far-fetched, and you might be thinking that this kind of authoritarian control over your money is not going to be anything that we'll see in the future. Unfortunately, this is already implemented in the world. In China, the government is already able to program what its citizens can and cannot spend their money on. Over the last few years, they've limited millions of people's ability to buy things like train tickets, passports, and luxury goods. They're able to do this because of China's intense social credit system that links each person's identity and actions to their bank account, allowing the government to see and to control everything a citizen does with their money. And it seems like the West is paying attention. In nations like Sweden, South Africa, and Canada, trials of programmable central bank currencies are already underway. In fact, almost half of the world's nations are at some stage of implementing this kind of programmable money, meaning no matter where in the world you live, this technology is likely only a few years away. Okay, so how does programmable money tie in with the personal carbon limit? Well, it all comes down to whether or not you've gone over your monthly usage. And if you have, there are two possible case scenarios for that. The most openly talked about penalty for a person going over their individual carbon limit is that they'd simply get charged for doing so, just the same as what happens to large companies today. Taken too many car trips this month, or bought a little bit too much meat. In that case, you'd simply get a bill at the end of each month from your government, so you can pay the price of being a naughty citizen. As your entire carbon usage would be tracked by a government CBDC, there would be no way to hide how much carbon you've used. And since they now also hold the keys to your money, they won't even need to send you a bill for your excess usage. Potentially, they'll just automatically pull your fine from your bank account.
Hold up, Kenya's trying to do what now? I mean, I read this in a book once and it didn't turn out too well. Check this out.
Now let me just put it blatantly to you. The program targets the birth of new babies. So once you have your baby, before your baby leaves the hospital, you no longer get a paper birth certificate, but then you get a digital one that is somehow implanted somewhere on somebody's body. Think about that. But have a listen to this.
The digital ID, which has been a big problem to us for a very long time, is now on a testing mode for the next 2 months. I have been assured by all the stakeholders led by the ministries concerned, that by December we will be able to launch digital ID, where every Kenyan don't have to carry any paper, plastic or otherwise as an ID. They should be able to be identified digitally.
We're taking things that are genetically modified organisms and we're injecting them in little kids' arms.
So while people are divided in the West, right? Out in Nepal, they have understood who the real enemies are. They are burning down their parliament. Meanwhile, in the West, they've infiltrated the minds of the people and have you fighting against one another, right? The right have declared war against the left because, one of their heroes were assassinated. Meanwhile, the people that are trafficking your children, they're walking around free. The people that put some poison inside of you over the last couple of years, they have people dropping like flies, right? They're walking around free. Nobody's declaring war against them. You see how this wicked government officials operate, the wicked elites, the globalists. You see what they do? So they pin you against each other, right? While they're walking around free, doing everything they want to do to you. And somehow you're not looking to make war against them, right? You're fighting one another over some crazy stuff. See, that is how they get you. All throughout the whole place has been this whole Kirk thing, right? Charlie Kirk is all over the place. Well, that is how they do. That is their way, right? They made it to galvanize the people's energy and channel it in the wrong direction. Prior to this whole Charlie Kirk thing, it was a lady that was stabbed on the subway, right? Things like that. See, this is what they do. They get in your head and play with your emotions and galvanize that energy and channel it towards somewhere else. Meanwhile, they themselves are doing things behind the scenes that are directly affecting you and everybody you know. While you're bickering and going back and forth with each other and declaring war against each other and, losing your minds. They are putting things in play that will affect you heavily. This is not the time for you to lose focus. You have to stay focused, man. You got to stay focused because everything they're trying to do is to get you to lose focus, to have you confused and looking the other way. You got to stay awake.
Imagine living in a world where you're wide awake, okay? You've had the awakening, you see exactly what's going on in the world, you realize that we're living in a simulation, the Matrix, everything's an illusion, but you're living amongst people that are completely clueless, and they think you're crazy. That's the world I live in. It's a very, my circle gets smaller and smaller and smaller because once your eyes open and you see the world for what it is, you can't go back. And so many people either choose to live in the illusion or they're just blind to it because they've been conditioned that way not to see it. It's a nightmare, really, because they think you're crazy. You tell them stuff and they're like, they're so far behind, I don't have the time to get them up to speed, okay? When you truly have the awakening and you wake up, your eyes open up and everything looks different. And I cannot get somebody there, so I'm not doing that anymore. I'm not trying to convince anybody. I'm just saying, hey, you might want to take a look at this, right? The fact is, most people will never get there. They're going to live blind and live in the system and never see things for what they really are. I'd love to know in the comments below who you out there that have truly awakened and you see the truth. You realize that we have been lied to by just about everything, okay? And I'd love to know. Let me know in the comments.
And that is a tragedy that we're dealing with right now, because you have people that are very gullible. They're still very much asleep. They're in a comatose state, and they're easily pulled in with all these illusions and distractions because They don't know what is going on. They are so far behind, like he said. You can't even have any reasonable conversations with them because that's how lost they are. They are so far gone, man. Spiritually gone, mentally gone. They are dead from the neck up. And you can't tell them nothing. You see? So now, the wicked elites, they bank on guys like this. This is the ones they get in their heads with all these distractions to cause chaos, to cause confusions, because they're easily manipulated. They're easily geared towards whatever directions that, the powers that shouldn't be wants them to go. You see? Next thing you know, they're coming after you. They're calling you the enemy. They're looking at you like you are the wrong thing because you don't see things. You're not asleep as they are, right? You don't, ruled by your emotions as they are, right? You are a logical, spiritual human being that see things clearly, differently from them, right? Automatically, you become their enemy. You see, this is what we are. This is what we are facing right now. And you go to the social media everywhere, it is that energy that's been put out there. People are just so far gone. They cannot see reason. Meanwhile, the wicked elites are putting things in play that will change the course of our lives as we know it. The life as you know it will never be the same again. This is where they are going. And this is why everything is happening all at once. They are in hyper speed to get this whole thing in motion. That's why we are seeing live assassinations right in our faces. Things like this, you normally watch the aftermath of it, right? Or somebody was killed, you see the aftermath and you hear it in the news, okay, blase, blase. Now they're showing you right in your face. Right in your face. You see it happening in your face. It's all for a reason. It's all for a reason. They need that confusion. They need that chaos. All of that craziness going on to the point where people are ready to go at each other's throats. You see? Do not lose focus. Before we go any further, all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rachaha, Kodash. Double honors to our pastors and elders of Great Millstone who taught us this truth and continue to teach us this truth. Peace, salutation, shalom, shalom, shalom to all your brothers and sisters out there that are of the household of faith that are truly awakened in this latter days. And to the brothers that are pushing this gospel in all sincerity and in all honesty, to you all I say shalom, right? Man, we cannot afford to be ignorant, man. We cannot afford to go back to sleep or, try to lose focus. You see, because so many things are happening, and which proves that we are at the cusp of something very, very terrible going down. I know a lot of you can feel it in your spirit. Those that are truly awake, something is about to it's already happening. It's going to get incrementally worse. That's why all of these things are just back to back to back to back to back, right? back to back to back, back to back to back. You see? And if you snooze, you lose. That's where it's come down to. If you snooze, you lose. You have to keep your wits about you. You have to stay focused. This is the book of Revelations, the 3rd chapter and the 18th verse. It says, I counsel thee to buy me gold tried in the fire, that they mayest be rich. What is that? That is the truth. That is the gold. That is what makes you rich, not your materialistic things, right? And white raiment, that thou mayest be clothed. Going back to the truth. So these are all metaphors that are talking about the truth, the wisdom, the understanding that are given to those that are truly awake. So you don't get sidetracked, so you don't get bamboozled and played and run amok. You see, it says, and that the shame of thy nakedness do not appear, and anoint thine eyes with eye salve, that thou mayest see. That is that awakening that the individual was going into. So that's what is happening. You can't go back. You can't look at things in a dead man's perspective. In other words, somebody that is spiritually dead from the neck up. You cannot do that anymore. And you cannot afford to do that anymore because you understand, you see differently. You see, because your eyes are truly open to what is happening. And you try to tell somebody about that, they can't. So that's why, like he said, he can't get you there. it's either you see it or you don't. That's why your concern should be those that are like-minded. Even the scriptures tells you about that in the book of Apocrypha, that you should concern yourself with those like yourself. You see, those that have truly awakened, that's the only people that can see reason. The only people that you can have any meaningful conversations with. That's going back to the elect, 144,000, to the men, women, and children that are allotted to be delivered in this latter days. These are the only ones that can see things for what it is. Because so many distractions, so many false flags. And by the term false flag doesn't mean that it's fake. In other words, it's not naturally happening. It was orchestrated, but that doesn't mean that people don't die in it. Of course, there are deaths and things like that. People getting hurt, harmed, all of that. But it's not something that just by happenstance, it was orchestrated. That's, the false flag. People think false flag, they automatically assume that you're talking about that it was altogether fake. Now, people do get hurt, but it wasn't as, it didn't happen naturally as they would want you to think. It was played. You see? So now, by you having that eye salve, it keeps you in a place of, in a higher level, so to speak. So you don't get played, because a lot of things are happening. Here we have, this guy is riding a train. On that train in Spain, it says Agenda 2030 right there, slapped on the window of the train. You see? So what does that tell you? That tell you that they don't have time to be playing around with you anymore. They can't wait to get to this. And we already, 2025 is almost done. We have a couple of months left in 2025, and next thing you know, we're in 2026. So they don't have time to be playing around with you. That's why all gloves are off. They're coming down hard with their agendas to hit you hard. I put together a couple of these clips, you check them all out. And here you have it says Raiden warned about AI censorship, NGS2 codec called Cyber Jam, right? Some dude put together this clip. It was pretty interesting. It says in Metal Gear Solid 2, the colonel warns Raiden, I believe that's how he said, Raiden, about AI being weaponized to censor the internet. The prophecy now unfolding, right? So now you go on the internet, on X, you see the live assassination of Charlie Kirk happening. I mean, anybody can come on and see that, right? Anybody, even the child, can look at it, whatever, right? It's all out there. So there's a reason they're doing all this stuff, so they can regulate the whole thing. They'll come and, they allowed you to play with it, the internet, the AI technology, because it's been weaponized a lot of people to do so, to confuse real and fake. Anything you see now, a lot of people are not scrutinizing it. Is it real? Is it AI, right? This is where we are now, to the point where you don't even know what to believe. The clip people see, they have to think about, is it really real? Is it AI? Is it this? Is it that, right? So it's all done by design. So now they will come in and be like, okay, there's too much fakery out there. You can only post things if it is certifiable by the powers that be. It says a prophecy now unfolded. It says the plan: flood the web with AI generated chaos, then solve it with mandatory digital IDs, ending the anonymity and free speech. It says who benefits? The usual suspects, globalist elites who've long weaponized tech to control narratives. AI censorship isn't about misinformation, it's about suppressing dissent, especially against those who question the real power structures. You see? The same people pushing mass immigration, white rhetoric, and degenerate media now want total digital control because free speech is their greatest threat, right? So you get the idea behind that. That is where we are right now, where the internet is just free for all with all the AI things. Well, like I always say, there's a method to the madness. There is a serious method to the madness. And that going into the digital ID. Now in Kenya, they're talking about how Even as a newborn, you'll be given this digital ID in the form of an implantable chips in babies. You see? But only those that are truly awake can see this. Even Bill Gates is talking about, he's giving props to India for their digital public infrastructure. Right? So in combination of biometric digital IDs, bank accounts, and payments as foundational for keeping tabs on farmers, monitoring people's health records, and helping the climate problem. So this is how, they come at you with all these sweet talks and make it look as if they are, they're for the greater good and they're working towards to save humanity and the planet, right? This is the book of Proverbs, the 26th chapter and the 23rd verse. It says, smooth words may hide a wicked heart, just as a pretty glaze covers a clay pot. You see that? So they use that smooth words to hide their true intent. Their true intent is to put everybody in this digital quagmire, this digital sinking sand, right? Where you can't move, you can't do nothing. You move too quick, you sink quicker. You see? Says people may cover their hatred with pleasant words, but they are deceiving you. Just like we have Bill Gates and his ilk, people like him. That's how they operate. They deceive you with all these pleasant words that they shoot at you, like, oh, that we're this great philanthropist. Everything we do is for your good. It's for the good of the country, for the good of the world. Meanwhile, at the same time, they're looking to reduce the population. So which is it? Are you trying to save people or are you trying to off them? What are you trying to do, really? It says they pretend to be kind, but don't believe them. Their hearts are full of many evils. So when you have them talking about saving the planet, climate change, and you have to do this, you have to regulate emissions, and we have to do that, and it's never about the planet. They don't care, because these are the same people that would put poison inside of you and care nothing of it through the food, the GMOs and things like that, right? So it's never about that. It's never about saving anything. It's the evils that they're trying to accomplish that is in their heart. That is the main deal. You see? It says, while their hatred may be concealed by trickery, their wrongdoing will be exposed in public. That's what is happening right now. So a lot of people are beginning to find out that they might not really get to have the Epstein list revealed. So they're calling out the bullcrap, because that is what Trump ran by. Say he will stop the war between Ukraine and Russia within 24 hours. He will reveal the Epstein list within, in no time. None of that has happened. A lot of people are beginning to call them out on their bullshit. Just like they told you that something was safe and effective, and it turned out to be bullcrap. So that is their trickery, their hatred. They conceal it with trickery, to get in your heads, to play with your feelings, to play with your emotions, with your funky emotions. It says their wrongdoing will be exposed in public, and they have a lot of whistleblowers. They have a lot of people scrutinizing the way the wicked elites run the whole show and their minions. That's why they are looking to regulate the internet. Looking to regulate the internet so that nobody would just come on there and just voice their opinions. You see? So if you set a trap for others, you will get caught in it yourself. If you roll a boulder down on others, it will crush you instead. That is their boomerang. That is their karma, so to speak. What you put out there, it comes right back to you. See? So the lying tongue hates its victims, and the flattering words cause ruin. So when they lie to you and flatter you into believing their agenda, guess what? They truly hate you. Don't believe them. Don't believe their sweet words and their sweet talkings. So this is where we are right now. This is the book of Revelation, the 12th chapter, the 9th verse. It says, the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil and Satan, which deceiveth the whole world. So the world is under some serious sorcery right now, some serious deception from the wicked elite. So the devil and the Satan you're seeing here, these are just men on the planet, right, playing out their roles. The devil meaning the deceiver, Satan means adversary. You see, That's where we are. Men are playing these roles, and their angels, like it says there, they were cast down in the earth, and the angels were cast out with them. They're minions. So, because the word angel means messenger. So someone like Bill Gates is a messenger to the wicked elites that run the whole show. I mean, don't get it confused. There is a spiritual Satan, the entity Satan, but there's a physical counterpart of Satan on the planet. It goes back to the wicked elites. That's why they call themselves the Illuminati, the illuminated ones, or Lucifer. See? But this is going back to men. There was no angels that was cast down out of heaven because he was warring in heaven and all that, They'll have you believe in that crap. That is just things that happen on our planet and on the earth itself. And they're cast down out of their rulership. In other words, they will not be deceiving the world anymore with their deceptive ways, right? It says, and I heard a loud voice saying in heaven, now is come salvation and strength and the kingdom of our God and the power of his anointed. For the accuser of our brethren is cast down, which accused them before our God day and night. So that's what the wicked elites do. Because you have the wicked elite Edomites and you have the elect Israelites. So this is where we are. There's this clash between good and evil. And the evil, they are always accusing the brethren, which are of the righteous. So look at them. Look at what they're doing. They use statistics to try to accuse the elect, the chosen seed. You see? It says, and they overcame him by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony. So the wicked elite will be overcome. But through who? The blood of the Lamb. That is through our Savior, Yahweh Shai. And by the word of their testimony, the word that we have in the truth, in the gospel, and the word of the Lord, the Bible. It says, and they love not their lives unto death, because that's what it's going to boil down to. That's what it's going to boil down to, because now the present government, all gloves are off. They're coming at you with everything they got. Very soon they will start getting you used to watching public executions, man. Public killings and things like that. Because very soon that's where they're going to take it. That's how they get people in the trick bag. Because a lot of people were saying, no matter how you feel about Charlie Kirk or whatever, right? They would need you to be okay with that kind of thing. Because that is where they're looking to take it. For you to be okay with people being, unalived right in front of you. And you say, oh yeah, they talked about that. That's what they get, right? Yeah, you get what you get. It's all judgment. You see what I'm saying? But they need that kind of energy out there for you to be okay with looking at people unalive right in front of you. See? It says, therefore rejoice ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth that he had but a short time. And everything is moving quick. All gloves are off with the wicked elites. They are pulling no punches anymore. It's all out in your face now, because they don't have a lot of time to be going back and forth, for all their agendas to be questioned anymore. They don't want that. They don't want you questioning, going on the internet and talking about, oh, where's the Epstein list, right? Where's this? Where's that? What is happening? You said you were going to do this. You're not doing that, right? They don't want that anymore. So now they're going to calm down hardcore, because they have a very short time to fulfill their agenda. Because very soon there will be a second coming of our Lord Yahweh Shai. He's going to come back, and once he comes back, everything is done. All their agendas, there will be no more agendas. It will just be, like you said earlier, the kingdom of our God, right? And the kingdom of our God, the salvation and strength, and the kingdom of our God. So once our Lord comes back, there will be no more wicked elites running around with their agendas. It will just be the kingdom of our God being established. And the wicked elites, they will be taken down, going back to the serpent, the devil, Satan, right? Being taken down. The serpent going back to the serpent in the garden. Because the serpent in the garden that deceived Eve was an actual human being. It's not like a serpent running around talking and things. It was an actual human being, but his characteristics was that of a serpent, coming at you with all sleeky when your guard is down. You see? Just a little something to keep you in the loop so you don't get easily sidetracked. Hopefully you've been edified by that. And with that, all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh Bahashem Yahushai, Bahashem Rechaha Kodash. Double honors to apostles and elders of Great Millstone. See you next time, Lord willing. Shalom. Shalom.